that make it so there is a monopoly?
Um,
How does that limit other people?
People are very hesitant to invest in things they're not going to own.
So they would just choose.
Yeah, so if we want to bring another FPO, if we want to attract another FPO in here, our current FPO has a non-reversionary, very long term. He pays essentially zero, not very much for all that he controls. And now you've got to, are you going to give somebody else that opportunity somewhere else on the field? Are you going to bring another FPO that wants to come in and say, give me the same terms as him? So, I hope to answer your question was, I think free enterprise competes well with itself. I think if the city gets involved and restricts and wants to take it back, I think you're only, instead of having 10 people willing to do something, you might have one. And, they're going to have pretty deep pockets to catch up with what's already there. So.
Two things. First of all, did you ever serve on the airport board way back in the 90s?
No. And I don't even know if do we have an airport board?
Oh, probably in the mid-90s, somebody else had it. Jeff would know.
Can you run through that formula again that we were talking about, percentages on the lease? You mentioned a really brief formula.
Okay.
Can you explain that a little more?
Yeah, let's just use an example of, let's use, the closest thing coming up would be something on Haverhill. My best estimation is if the city today took one of those hangars in ownership, and maybe they do own one, maybe we know what the lease rate is. I'm going to say it's $400 a month. Is that correct? That's reality. So 400 times 12, that's 4,800 a year. Okay. How much do we pay in liability insurance for that hangar? My guess, I know what I pay. My
Are you
guess,
saying the city's going to pay?
the city would have to pay because they're the landlord. They're in charge.
It's less than that.
Well, that's pretty good insurance because I'm paying about $2,700 a year, but it's a much smaller hangar over there, so and it's much less of an asset. Anyway, so then you've got to say how much, if that asset's worth, let's say it's $90,000 a year or $100,000, you've got to take 1,000 of that and plan on that for maintenance. You might not spend 1,000 a year, but in 10 years you're going to spend 10,000 at minimum. And then so now your 4,800 now is $1,500 less. Okay. So what's that now? 3,300 a year. Okay, we waited 30 years to get 3,300 a year. Okay, so we could, in essence, if we would have said, hey, let's let them pay 25 cents a square foot for the last 30 years for the land underneath them, plus half that value up front for another 20 feet, you're probably going to have a lease rate of, I'm going to say $1,800 or $2,000 a year. I don't know what it's a 50 by 50 over there.
40 by 45.
What's a 50 by 50 lease right now? Right.
1,300.
1,300 a month.
Oh, shit.
A year. 1,300 a year. So 1,300 a year, and then CPI's kicked in, so it's probably more. It's up here. So you wait 30 years to get 3,000, or you get 1,300 for the next 30 years, and and let it climb the CPI. And I think you could actually get more than 1,300 today if you rented it out and you could own a hangar. I think the hangar owner would pay much more than 1,300 for the lease. So at the end of the day, your market is what somebody's willing to pay, and it includes the cost of the hangar and it includes the cost of the leasing. What we're saying, we've been on a course that we know works for non-reversionary. And we know that we can maximize the land lease underneath it because the city can control that. You know, they can say, hey, the market will bear 40 cents today, or it'll bear 50 cents today. So we can, and whatever that is, you've got the latitude when you write the lease to put that in. That's your ground zero for that lease. Somebody wants to renew a lease, to possibly do the same thing. But that's going to maximize the city's return without having them to have ownership and the maintenance, or wait 30 years to actually maximize the asset. So it's a methodology of, I guess I don't understand. I mean, if we were Salt Lake International, and we knew that eventually what happens with the international airport, they pretty much push every small person that is out of there, and all you have is big jets, and yeah, the city needs to own everything. They have to be able to own it. But we just aren't going to be that. I mean, this airport will never grow into that. It'll always be, I don't believe we'll ever have commuters in here, so it's going to be a little different. It's a different airport than compared to some of these other airports that are out there. So. But anyway, hopefully I answered your question.
Okay, so you're saying that, again, if I could visualize it better, this would help me. I'm trying to visualize what you're saying, and I'm seeing a gap there. So you're saying that, is it the reversionary or the non-reversionary that will pay more money to the city right up front?
Non-reversionary.
Non-reversionary. Otherwise, if it's reversionary, then they wait all those years to get liability after insurance and so forth.
Yeah, the non-reversionary means the person owns the hangar, he owns the personal property.
Okay, now, have we ever considered a real estate transfer tax every time a hangar in that situation is sold to someone else?
There is
It's in this package, a 1% transfer fee.
1%, have we done that in the past?
Yes, it's standard practice. It's based on appraised value.
Yeah.
How much have we earned from that, say, over the last 5 years?
$7,000.
So it's pretty minimal compared to the actual hangar rates, the rental rates, the lease rates.
Right now, we probably have lease fees coming in with all the hangars, close to $70,000.
So the real estate transfer tax is minimal.
I don't know that we've seen any revenue that so far this fiscal year.
Here's, hold your thought right there for a minute. Let me talk about that transfer. This is a good example of what the difference would be on a reversionary versus a non-reversionary. A reversionary lease is a decline from day one. It will decline in value to whatever the lease is in. So, for the first 10 years, you probably can find another buyer to come in and take the position. But when you get closer to 10 years and less, your hangar is not worth very much money if you're trying to sell it to somebody. And so if it did sell, it's going to sell, because it's a depreciating asset to zero, because, you're going to give it away after 30 years. If you have a non-reversionary and it's privately held, that asset's going to grow just like a home, just like anything else. You improve it, it costs more to build a new one, and if you maintain it, if you pay, it's going to be worth more in 30 years than not. So anytime in that 30 years that it sells, that 1% transfer fee is going to be much higher if it's privately held. And it has a market to be purchased, and somebody has some latitude to come in and write a lease and have, somebody, a new buyer comes in, he writes a new lease, and he's going to pay. Now he's not only going to pay the going rate, so the city has its chance to up the rate if it'll bear it, and get the maximum out of that new leasee. And the guy selling the hangar to him has the ability to maximize that. And then the transfer fee comes back. So it's a very big factor of, if you're talking about a transfer fee, if you're going to go to reversionary, that essentially will go to zero. Because, every asset out there is reversionary, every asset's depreciating, and it's going down anyway.